Oh my goodness! And I hope that's not I hope that's not a sign as to how the show is going to be going. Apologies for the wrong intro. That was for the EPL panel show, right? This is the morning coffee show. If you guys are wondering where you are at the morning coffee show. This is the right place. Now, it's a good thing Timuchin isn't here,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And I feel like this is going to be brought up in the Discord channel over the next few hours or so, right? But that was not intentional. This is the morning coffee show, the Wednesday morning coffee show with me, John. No Timuchin today, so I'm going to be hosting, but of course I am with Gordo here, the other third of the Wednesday crew. Gordo, what's happening? Barring
Yeah.
that misfire of an intro,
There's probably two things going on right now. Someone's going, wait, I didn't sign up for this, and then they,
right?
oh, phew, thank you. And then there's the other person who was like, all right, yeah, panel show, that's great. And then they just show up, and they're like, wait a minute, thought we got a little treat.
I know. And then bringing with us is Salim. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a while.
Yeah, how's everybody doing?
Good, man. Like it's Wednesday, it's midweek, just trying to get through it. Yeah, good to have you back, man. It's honestly been a while. I haven't seen you in a bit, my friend. How's everything?
Yeah, it has been. Things are good. Things are good. I mean, what exciting times to be a Red, you know? So, been on X every morning and every
Right.
afternoon, just checking on the here we goes and all that stuff. So it's been great, man. It's been just amazing couple months for Liverpool.
Right, for sure. Sir Z says, good morning, Sir Z. I'm sure he's going to be bringing up that gaff with the with the intro and everything. Ozan Kabak says, magandang umaga, my friend. For reference, that's Filipino for good morning. Is Tim vacationing in Ibiza? He is in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Ibiza of America.
The Ibiza of America. Like, listen, enjoying himself, enjoying some sun, much like our players are. But I guess down to business. So let me just put out the lay of the land here. This show was initially planned as sort of a player rating show, season player rating show, and we're going to get that. We're going to get to that soon. But I guess the big elephant in the room, kind of unavoidable, is the announcement of the schedule, gentlemen. So obviously, champagne is still flowing, I would say. I had a few drinks last weekend and still in celebration of the league title win because, it's still a freaking big deal, right? But obviously, with everything, there's still next season, right? There is still the step forward, and it's closer than we think, right? With preseason starting sometime next month. I'm sorry. I hope it's next year so we can celebrate this league title for a year. So schedules have been announced today. Here it is. The Liverpool account was good enough to make this into a graphic which shows everything, right? And This is great. So obviously, I saw this tweet, Gordo, from, I believe it was Opta. I couldn't find it in time for the show. But in terms of schedule strength, that first 10, which is Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal, Burnley, Everton, so on and so forth, is ranked the toughest out of every Premier League team. And listen, based on how I know you, seem sort of more of a glass half full kind of guy. Right?
I'm glass half empty. You could be nice.
Okay. Well, there we go. Well, I guess what I was going to ask you, and I will ask you as well, Salim, after Gordo, do you see this tough start as good for us, as sort of getting it out of the way, or sort of like the glass half empty perspective where we could be digging ourselves a hole this early in the season?
Yeah, tough to say right now, but if you're gonna, you have to play all the teams anyways, so
Right.
might as well get the hard ones out of the way first. And I guess it'll give us a good litmus test of like a full, summer with the new guys, because that's one of the best parts about making these signings early is they get the full training camp under Slot and his tactics. So it'll be a great litmus test for us to see how good this team is going to bounce back. Obviously, we have a target on our back, so these teams are going to be gunning for us. But you got to play everybody. Might as well get them out of the way because we could pick up a bunch of points on the back end of it.
Right, and there's a lot of talk on social media, Salim, whether people going on about the tough schedule, but we're the Premier League champs, for God's sake. Like as Gordo mentioned, we play everyone, and we played everyone last year enough, right? Good enough to win the title. Like, what is the outcry? What is the outrage? Well, first of all, what are your thoughts, I guess, on these first 10 fixtures?
I mean, I love it. Let's get out the gate. Let's play these teams. I think there's a bit of an advantage as well that everybody's got to kind of get back into the flow of things, but that does include us. Um, as a fan, I love watching great games just in general. So the fact that we got Newcastle, Arsenal back to back, I'll be excited about it. You can't win the league in the first 10 games. You can lose it, but you can't win it. So I think, the target on the back thing that Gordo was just saying, I'm not sure how much I read into that. I think every team wants to beat their opponent regardless. So I love it because there's right out the gate. We'll, by October, end of October, we'll kind of know how the new guys have bedded in and kind of where we're at. I really like it.
For sure, for sure. I'm more, for the record, I'm more on the glass half full kind of camp. I like to get it out of the way, so to speak. And we have Arsenal as our third game, United as our, what is that, eighth game? Yeah, listen, it's sometimes you want to catch these teams, and I believe it was, credit to our dear founder, Timuchin. I think he's the one who heard this. He's probably scratching something right now because he felt someone talking about it, right? He said something about when these teams aren't ready yet, when these teams aren't kind of set up, when they don't have their sort of game plan yet, their go-tos, and to catch them with their pants down, I think early in the season is the best time to do that. Ozan Kabak says Arsenal fans are complaining. Absolutely. I mean, going through X to look for headlines, you go through the suggested tab, you see Arsenal fans complaining that it's another PGMOL season, so on and so forth. Sergi says that I think Arsenal and Man U have tougher starts. I don't know about that. I mean, Man U are always going to have a tougher start, to be fair, not because of the quality of the oppositions, because of the quality of this squad. Matur says the league is so rigged we don't play the champions twice. That is true. That is true. And Alan says, ironic that Kirkes might be playing his first game at Bournemouth. And that's actually a good point, Gordo. Bournemouth at home, right? Attacking side, right? Doesn't necessarily want to park the bus, wants to go at teams, try and win games with Iraola there. Assuming we get our attacking targets done, Wirtz is pretty much 99% done. We get in another striker. I don't think there's a better first game to kind of bed these guys in, right?
Yeah, get it out of the way, because Bournemouth is one of those teams that everyone, you underestimate them at your own peril. They're more than capable of taking 3 points off the big boys. So it is a good game to have at home. It's a good game to go right away because it's a winnable game, but also it's good competition.
Newcastle away, Salim, of course, second game. We've historically had a tough time at St. James's Park, obviously last year. The Kelleher mistake at the end to get us to lose us those 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. What do you see here as probably the toughest of the first 10?
I mean, you got to go Arsenal, right? I mean, especially if they get a striker. Newcastle's a tough side, especially at St. James Park, but I would say Arsenal. When you kind of look at what happened last season, it was clear that the Saka injury and the lack of a forward was really impactful to their season and to benefit us, frankly. But I think that's going to be the toughest game. I mean, I like that it's at Anfield to start. So I would say that one. And, Everton's always tough, but I would say Arsenal. I think Newcastle's a really good squad, and depends kind of how things pan out the rest of the summer with them as far as transfer outs and transfer ins. But yeah, Arsenal's the team that I got earmarked as the toughest game here.
So as he says, we signed 3 world-class players and added to a champions winning side. Why is everyone scared? That is true. But if you could pardon me, Cersei, I'm going to go on a bit of the negative route here, Gordo. If there is a fixture that you think we can have the highest chance of dropping points on the first 10, I would say it's Newcastle away, right? Or probably Chelsea away, right? In terms of toughest venues to visit with pretty good squads as well.
I would agree with you. Nottingham Forest, what was that? Is that the second game of the season or third?
Yes.
It was very early, and we won the league. So it might be better to get that out of the system early. I mean, look, you drop points at Newcastle away, it's not the end of the world. It's not even. I wouldn't even say it would be a blip in our best seasons, and so not too concerned. Again, another fixture that I'm glad that we get out of the way early, because the longer the season goes on, the stronger all these teams are going to get and find themselves. And so let's just hope that Newcastle don't have a great preseason and come in a little limp-footed.
Yeah, and obviously we've been kind of focusing on the first 10 because it's obviously the most soon set of games that is going to come in. But obviously looking at this, and before we move on to our actual agenda this morning, which is to kind of look at the player ratings and everything, Ozan Kabak mentioned that he would love for us to win the league at Old Trafford on May 2nd, which is the stuff of dreams, obviously. And looking at this fixture list, at its entirety, right? I think there's no doubt that is probably the game that we all have like this even this early kind of encircled on our calendars, Salim, if I'm not mistaken. Or if you have another, you can mention it. But I would think, right, if we're going to be challenging for the league, which I think we are, Old Trafford in May is going to be massive.
I mean, imagine just getting the 21st title at our biggest rival that has 20 titles tied with us. I mean, that's stuff of dreams for sure.
Gordo, you have any other fixture here that you kind of are really looking forward to?
Man, I'm really wondering what we're going to be doing. What is that, October 11th? When Man City aren't in the league anymore? Is that going to be a bye week? Is everyone going to collect 3 points? What happens then?
Listen.
No, but
sorry, go ahead.
I look at even the final 6. If we're still challenging for a title at that point, I mean, that's a difficult fixtures in the final. Like, Palace has always been a bogey team. Everton away, United away, a Chelsea team that's probably going to come back stronger this season. It seems like right at the end of the year they kind of figured themselves out. Villa's always tough, and that's away. And Brentford is another team that you can't take for granted. So that's a tough run-in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully, as Sir Z says here, we won't drop points versus Newcastle. That's going to help us massively when we take their striker and winger, I guess. Can Mo Salah score his 10th straight opening game of the season? If you guys are going to put a parlay on that one, would you? Salah to score first game, Bournemouth. I think that's pretty nailed on.
I think the only money that you'd make from that bet would be if it's in the 12th season in a row. I think it's almost a guarantee. 12 is the only one that you're probably going to make a little bit of money betting that.
Right, attacking side as well loves to go against go to toe with teams. It's perfect for Mo Salah to score 10th straight. Although I think he missed one, Ozan. He missed one. There was one season where he didn't score, and then anyone here or anyone in the comments can mention what that season was. I forget, but I know there was a season where he didn't score in the opening day. Anyone can mention it whenever it comes to mind, but I know it's not straight anymore. Right? Tim is here, and he said, "Hi, is this no, this is the morning. This is the morning coffee show. Don't worry. This is the morning coffee show. Don't worry. You're in the right place. You're in the right place." And there we go. Of course, it's Sir Z. Salah didn't score against Chelsea in Klopp's last season. Well, there we go. He got taken off.
That was 0-0 or 1-1. It was a tie too.
It was 1-1. Yeah.
Right. I think he assisted Diaz then. I remember that assist, the one with the outside of the foot that he put in the middle of the box. So at least he still got the goals and assist in every first goal or assist in every first game kind of record going in here. Final thoughts, gentlemen, before we move on from the schedule, Gordo?
No, let's get off. I don't want to play Nostradamus.
Salim, that's actually a really great call because, listen, I'm going to be clipping these, and if any of you guys say something spicy, that's going to go into the channel, and some people are going to come in, especially from Facebook, who, we get called stupid Yanks a lot, even though I'm not technically American, right? Salim, any final thoughts before we move on from the schedule here?
No, it's fun to look at, but it's all speculation. Nostra Gordon over there is absolutely right.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we wouldn't want to put ourselves in some hot water, although Sir Z putting on his Nostradamus cap. Amorim is fired by October. What do you guys think? I think it's something worth putting a bet on. I think it's something worth putting a bet on.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it's for once, like from a United perspective, you have a coach that's really kind of telling the truth about how things are in the club, you know. And I think that might be a breath of fresh air from like an internal standpoint, but from them. But however, I hope they lose every game. But I think Amarim is probably going to turn that thing around a little bit. I don't know if he's going to get fired by October.
It is Manchester United, my friend. You know how it is there.
Shiny toys, man. Every shiny toy, they want them.
Shiny toys. Okay. So with the schedule out of the way, I'm sure it'll be discussed more in the Thursday podcast tomorrow night, which you guys should definitely tune in, and on the Friday morning podcast with Gali, Kazi, and Anan over there. But listen, this show, like, we realize here in the American Scouts channel, we haven't necessarily talked about our players in great detail in terms of ratings. So this show is going to double as sort of a season player rating show, if you guys would allow us. Obviously, the format is pretty simple, gentlemen. Bring up our first 11 here, give your rating, for said player, explain why, and then we'll pretty much put a consensus at the end of it all. Obviously, league winning season, Arnie Slot's first season in charge. I don't have Slot here. I can put him in towards the end of the discussion, right? So we could rate him as well. But let's start with obviously the first 11, and I'll start with you, Gordo. Obviously, we'll start with the goalkeeper, Allison. Sort of an injury hit season a little bit. Not as bad as the season before.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, not as bad as the season before, but he still had, some niggles and stuff like that. What do you think of Allison's season this year?
52 appearances I was reading before the game. Before our panel show. Jeez Louise, I'm failing here. I would probably go 9. He's just, he proves time and time again that he is the world's best keeper at the moment.
Easily. And obviously with the backup coming in, Salim, some talks about him being phased out, which I get it. Injuries sometimes are annoying, but the thing is when he's in there, it's just different. It's just different level. Like, all due respect to Kelleher, right? Like, he's a really good goalkeeper, but you see the difference a little bit sometimes when he's in goal and when Allison is goal. It's just a different air of confidence.
Yeah, a buddy of mine went to Europe and watched Ajax Liverpool a few years back, and he told me you wouldn't believe how huge Alisson Becker is, like, live. And I think that shows all the time, on one-on-ones when he's kind of screaming out at the attacker. And, he's an amazing goalkeeper. I don't know about phasing him out. If Georgie wants to beat him, it's going to be really tough because not only does he have all the experience, but he's also an excellent goalkeeper. Like Gordo, I gave him a 9 as well. I love Becker. I think goalkeepers, without the lack of running that they do, they can be in tip-top shape for quite a while. I think how old is he? 28, 29, something like that.
I think he's reaching his 30s. Allison, not in the high 30s, mind you. I think he is 32. He is
32. Yeah. I mean, we still have at least 2-3 years with him being kind of in top form. So. Yeah, Georgie, I can't say his last name, but you know who I'm talking about, the Georgian guy. He's gonna be playing backup for at least this year and another year or two.
For sure. Sergi gives Allison an 8. He says because of injuries, 10 out of 10 based on PSG, like easily 10 out of 10 there. Ozan says the holy goalie. Yeah, and I think Gordo gave him a 9, Salim gave him a 9. I think 9 is an excellent. He's just not a 10 out of 10 because of the injuries, probably. But I think a 9 is pretty appropriate for Allison's season. Another world-class season, I would say. And hopefully, with Giorgio coming in next year, it kind of pushes him to reach another level. I don't know what that other level is, right? Because he's already at the level, I would say, of like some of the best goalkeepers we've ever seen. So moving on. And I guess this is a little... I didn't want to go here, boys, but our right back, the old one, the one who wore number 66. I forget his name, but I guess we're going to have to rate him. We're going to have to rate his season, right? And I guess this is more of getting it out of the way more than anything else. Calls himself Trent now. right? With his jersey, Real Madrid. Not Alexander Arnold. Cersei saying, let's skip the snake. All right, boys, let's put it at a vote. Are we skipping the snake?
No, we got
to do it.
He played too much.
All right,
44
let's go.
appearances.
All right, Gordo. Since you wanted to not skip him, what do you think about Mr. Trent here? Apparently, Alexander Arnold is too good for him now.
Yeah,
right?
Apart from being a snake, apart from learning perfect Spanish over the last 2 years,
unbelievable, right?
Honestly, I'd give him a 10 out of 10 for the Spanish alone.
Yeah, for sure.
I have been at my Duolingo. I have been at my Duolingo for Spanish for almost a year now, and I can barely speak a concrete sentence without stumbling over my words. And this guy right here just puts a full-on speech.
Yeah, well, he's been speaking to their agents for probably 2 years, so he's had actual real-world experience.
All right, Cersei says Konate 7 out of 10. Okay, all right.
No,
all jokes aside, Gordon. Go ahead.
I would probably put 7 for him. I think like the only reason I wouldn't give him an 8 or a 9 would because attitude was definitely an issue this year. That Man United game sticks out. And it stuck out while he was still a player. It sticks out even more now.
For sure.
But there was moments where it's just like, man, how are we going to replace this guy? I mean, that pass to Mo Salah at West Ham when he just was basically in line with the defender, in line with Mo Salah, somehow outside the boot, curved it just outside of range for a Mo Salah assist. And it's just stuff like that is like he is a generational talent. Unfortunately, he tarnished his legacy, but you still can't deny that he provided us with good play and good assists. The defense was, but I'd still give him a 7 out of 10.
7. All right, Salim. All things considered, right? And I haven't seen you in a while, so I don't know where you're at with this whole Trent situation, right? But taking everything into account, positives and negatives, how do you rate his season?
Yeah, I gave him an 8. The pass that Gordo's mentioning, I think alone gives him a 7. I mean, that pass was outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like where I stand with Trent is, I understand like both sides of the argument, right? I understand him potentially wanting to experience something different as a human being, but I also understand all the bullshit that he said about wanting to be captain and how we feel a little slighted about it, So, but yeah, I gave him an 8. I think he's, he had some amazing moments. The Man City goal was nice too. He's just a good player, man. And it's unfortunate, but it's football. It happens. People move on. And, I'm loving the replacements anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And Brian alluding to that replacement. Frimpong can do the same. I don't know about that, Brian. Like some of the passes that Trent pulls off. Listen, it's something we see out of the Stevie G locker. But listen, I think I'm gonna try and be objective here and go with Gordo 7 as well. Go with what Gordo's rating 7 as well. Disappointed with how he's acted in some big games. Obviously the United game at home is like the glaring one. But I didn't like how he was at Arsenal away as well. Like it was so early last season, I believe, a few games in, that it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But how he was so lackadaisical and trying to play like those Hollywood passes early on, giving the ball away, it turned me off. And I remember that distinctly because some fan here, I forget who it was, someone who watches this regularly got on my ass for giving him a 3 out of 10 rating on that game, which is why I remember that distinctly. So I would say a 7. I think all things considered. So 7.5, maybe. Can I put that in?
7 and a third.
7.3. Why is it round? It's rounding up to 8. So I guess. Oh wait, no, there we go. Okay, so 7.3 for Trent over here. We're not even giving him the courtesy of a solid rating, right? So so there we go. All right, moving on. We're moving on here quickly, boys, which is good. I was worried about time limits and everything for this show because I know you gentlemen have stuff to do as well, and so do I. But we're moving in pretty quick. Konate, Gordo. He's been healthier than usual, right, this season.
Yes.
And a lot of it, and there is a discussion where a lot of it might have been him playing through the pain somewhat. But when he's been there, he's been pretty solid. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think for this year, I'd probably give him an 8 because of his advancements and improvements from previous seasons. Like he was a garbage ball carrier early in his Liverpool career.
Mhm.
This year's definitely figured that out. He's still someone when he's got the ball at his feet inside of our own half. It's not the nicest thing to see. I also think that he could probably get more involved in corners. You know, like Van Dijk is a for sure. He's always going to get his head to it. Kanate is just as big as him, and we don't often see him getting
Right.
in and getting dirty on corners. So I'd like to see that improve for him. I'd probably give him an 8 this year. He was solid and he played a lot more games.
8. What do you reckon, Salim? 8 for Kanate, or you got something else for the big man?
I mean, I'm right around there. I gave him a 7.5. The times that Kanate scares me is when we're defending and the ball is just frantically bouncing around, and he just swings a leg like. Uh, there's been a couple times, I can't recall right now off the top of my head, but there are a couple times where it's just like, dude, come on, like get your foot on it, like don't just swing wildly. So for that reason, I gave him a 7.5. But when he's on, and he was covering Trent's open space when Trent would slide inside. I mean, he was awesome. Like the fact that he can, he's physical. I like that. He's fast. But Gordo's 100% right. We need to see some goals out of him. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he can jump. Like, a couple more goals, and then he becomes a pretty complete defender.
Ozan Kabak says he needs to see him score more goals. Agrees with Gordo and Salim, like he did away at Wolves. Away at Wolves, that was the only headed goal that he's had this year. And like to Gordo's point, like for such a big guy, I guess it might be nitpicking, right? For such a successful season for us. So I'm gonna go with 8. I'm gonna go with 8, sort of on Gordo's camp here. There are obviously still some improvements, and this is totally unrelated to his season. But obviously, the contract situation is kind of dawning on us slowly but surely. And if I was going to go down that rabbit hole, we'd spend an extra 10 minutes. But so I'll make it quick. Gordo, if we don't get something done over the next month or two, we probably have to sell him, right? Instead of letting him wind it down like we did with some of our other players.
Yeah, but it seems like the club is quite comfortable in doing that, which is, maybe from a fan's point of view, it made us all very nervous that it was January and we still did not have contracts for our 3 biggest players. And we were looking at a reality where we were going to win the league and possibly lose not just 3 of our best players, but 3 of the league's best players for nothing. And the club was very comfortable, it seemed like, with that and got deals done. And now look at us. I mean, if you compare us to 5 months ago, the state that we were in now to the state that we probably were mentally in January, I think we've got the right people at the helm. So I think they don't move unless the right bid comes in. I think they're comfortable with letting people walk.
What about you, Salim? Thoughts on the contract stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's uneasy, like the Trent situation, is borderline criminal, right? I mean, it's amazing we got 10 million out of Real because they wanted to go to the Club World Cup with him, but the thing is we can't just flip over the whole squad in one go, and that's good. That's a problem because when you do that, then there's continuity, there's gelling, there's all that stuff, getting used to each other. And I think if we were to sell Kanate, I think it would actually impact us negatively, even if we got a world-class defender in there. It's not great, but we need him this year, and I wouldn't move him.
Probably has the hardest job on the pitch as well, covering for all the spaces that Trent leaves. So, there is that, and for that, I think 8. And Salim gave him 7.5, so let's round that up to 8 for Kanate this season. Pretty good for Ibu. Obviously, moving to his center back partner, the captain Virgil van Dijk.
This is one we could skip. I mean, this is 10. He was the perfect player this year. The quote that I read when I was preparing for this was from This Is Anfield, and it's the first letter or the first comment about it. And it says the Colossus doesn't spar with Premier League or European strikers anymore. The only opponent this Liverpool skipper is facing is Father Time, and so far he's winning.
My gosh, that is poetry, man.
Yeah.
That is poetry. And the folks talking about longevity arguments for Van Dijk. Like slowly but surely, he's been kind of breaking those arguments. Everyone is saying he's a 1-2 season wonder, multiple player of the team of the season appearances, now has 2 Premier League titles. Salim, I think you'd probably have to go with Gordo. This is probably a near flawless, if not flawless, season from him.
I would agree. If I were to nitpick, there were a couple unlike Virgil moments, but I mean, you can count them on less than, it's like 2 or 3 that I can recall. But other than that, I mean, a captain, a leader,
Right.
The fact that he reads the game so well is his superpower. The fact that he's 6'4", 6'5", and can run. I mean, all that's great, but his brain is what really kind of will keep him at a high level for a while. He just doesn't dive in. He doesn't look frantic ever. He covers spaces. He can pass. He can score. I mean, I had 9.5, but just being a little bit critical. But 10 is absolutely fair.
Yeah, for the record, I give him a 10 as well. People question how he would be, replacing one of our greatest ever captains, in Jordan Henderson, and I think he's pretty much stepped up to the plate. And what is it? Every season he's been captain, we've won a trophy, right? So long may it continue. Ozan gives him a 16 out of 10. Like, listen, my friend, like I would put it in if possible, but I would say 10 out of 10 here, being objective for Big Verge. I mean, long may it continue for the big man. He's not exactly a spring chicken anymore, but like you mentioned, Salim, the intelligence there, it makes up for a lot of possible physical deficiencies, which we haven't really been seeing, mind you, to be fair. So long may it continue for Big Verge. Okay, so moving on to the gentleman on his left, Andy Robertson, right, who's been obviously been on the news a lot lately, possibly leaving next year, which is kind of upsetting for me. Obviously, great servant, club legend, no doubt. But looking at his last season, Gordo, it's been a little off and on sometimes. Sometimes we see glimpses of the old Robertson. Sometimes he looks way past it. But where do you think that reflects in terms of a number?
Again, winning season. Not a whole lot of goals scored against us, but one of the best defenses in the league. I'd give him a 7, and I'd probably give him a 6, except the first 5 games. I was looking at Andy Robertson and going, he is not going to make it through this season. He looked absolutely gassed. He didn't have the legs on him, and somehow managed to, while still playing, managed to find his form again. And definitely could see him. He wasn't getting as far forward. He was playing to his strengths, which was good. I think at the beginning of the season, he's like, I'm Andy Robertson. I'm going to go all the way to the touchline. I'm going to help out. I'm going to bomb forward. And he just couldn't. He wasn't getting back in time. And then he saw him playing, much like when we moved Jamie Carragher from like a wing back to center back. And then as he got older, he started cheating. You call it cheating. I call it, playing to strengths. And I think we saw some of that from Robertson. But yeah, I think we're watching his legs go, and it's probably time if we're to maximize what we get for him right now.
For sure. Ozan here says, before I go to you, Salim, that it's a bit sad to see Robo leave without a standing ovation. That is true. I mean, hopefully we could, I don't know. We talk about, the business of everything, about selling him, getting as much as we could. But then the sentimental part of me goes like, yeah, let him run down his contract, you know what I mean? Then so he can have a proper send-off. But I totally understand where Gordo is coming from. Where right now, while he still has value, right, maybe it's best to probably sell him. Salim, where are you at with Robertson this season? Obviously, an off and on season, but still contributed heavily to this title.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just rewind what Gordo said. That's really how I feel. The legs were the problem, and it's tough, man, because like you remember him when he first came on the scene and how he was flying, and I mean, there was a point in time where he was offering as many assists as Trent, and then Trent's quality kind of bumped up a level, and. But Robertson is very near and dear to my heart, man, because he's kind of like the mental toughness of the team, or the physical toughness, we're not taking any shit from anybody toughness. And I really appreciate that, man. There's there's a place for somebody like that on a team like ours, somebody that, is almost like an enforcer type. I remember against Barcelona when he shoved Messi's head when he was on the ground. I'm like, I love that. Like it just shows like we're not scared of you. We're not going to be intimidated by you. And I think he has a lot of value in the locker room. I really would hate to see him leave, although I understand the whole maximizing thing. Again, I don't want to flip this whole squad over in one season. And I think Robo has a big part to play in this season.
What do you give him, Salim, for a rating?
7.
7. Okay, yep. So I guess I don't want to go against the grain, man. I love Robertson. I was gonna give him a 6.5, but I'll go with a 7. Yeah, just out of respect for such a great player. It stings to look at this and sees that he has a lower rating than 66. That's all I'm saying. that really hurts.
You mean 12?
Yeah, you mean 12. 12, a 66, whatever he wants to be called now. He's all about branding now, right? So listen. Okay, moving on. Enough talk about 12 over there. Ryan Gravenberg. I'm not gonna try and fanboy too much, right? So I'll give it to you, Gordo. Ryan Gravenberg. How are we looking at his season? Obviously, excellent start, but then sort of like with not really sort of like with Robertson, but then the legs started to show as the season wore on. And was that necessarily his fault? No. Like, it seems like Arne Slot has been listening to me at American Scouser, knowing that because he's probably Slot's favorite player. Like, whatever lineup Slot comes in with, Ryan Gravenberg is part. And that was a good thing to start, but then towards the end, with the lack of depth, it started to take a toll, and his form kind of tapered a little bit. So what would you give Gravenberg for this season?
Yeah, there was only 3 people on the team that had more appearances than him, and that was Mo, Diaz, and Allison. So you can't blame it. There was a lot of guys on 49, which is what he ended up playing. And so, I mean, this is as close to 10 as I would give him. I mean, I'd go 9.5 because he was. Oh. If you compare who he was last year to this year, not only did it feel like a new signing, but it felt like a blockbuster signing. It felt like a diamond in the rough. One of those where like you have no expectations, and holy crap, he's one of the best midfielders in the league. I mean, not only did he adapt to the role, but his play with one of the best midfielders in the game right now at McAllister was phenomenal. Some of his attack, like defending in difficult situations, and the way he would cover that back line. I mean, it was phenomenal to watch. At no stage of the season was I disappointed in Gravenberg. I couldn't, like you said, I don't think the legs were his fault. I think he was overplayed, which, I mean, how do you not play him? I think that goes to show. It's like you're willing to overplay somebody because him at his weakest is still better than any other option that we had at the time. And so I think that speaks a lot for him.
9.5 for you, Gordo, right?
Yeah, 9.5.
9.5. Okay. Mr. Battle Red said Grav, young player of the season, of course, revelation. He'll be suspended against Bournemouth, which could be a big one, unless we bring in another midfielder or we start Curtis Jones or Endo or someone. That is going to be big, but thankfully it's just going to be one game. 10 for the gravy turns, says Mr. Battle Red. Yeah, for sure. Like, the Thiago turn, like I look forward to the Gravenberg turn as much as the Thiago turn. The good thing about the Gravenberg turn, we see it 10 times more often as the Thiago turn, because Thiago misses every other game. So, Salim, Gravenberg, your thoughts?
Yeah, I gave him a 9. I understand the sentiment that his legs going wasn't necessarily his fault. And, last year, what he played as far as games to this year is, I mean, it's a massive jump. So, but the first, 4 months of the season, I mean, he was, 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10, whatever you want to say. I mean, he was so good. He was such a surprise to all of us. But towards the end, I think the legs falling is why I kind of docked him a half point there instead of a 9.5. But I mean, I love him. I think he's fantastic. Zuby, forget that guy. Gravenberch really kind of filled in and did a great job.
For sure. Obviously, I'm going with like an 11 for Gravenberg, but objectively,
extra 2 points for love.
Right, it's 2 points for love, my friend. Like, so I'll just give him a 9.5, so it doesn't look like I'm too biased here. Uh, okay, so the player ratings are shaping up. Let's move on to his partner here in midfield, Alexi McAllister. As you said, Gordo, one of the best midfielders we've probably seen for quite a while here in this club. Obviously, in terms of style of play and everything, durability as well. He plays almost every game, plays 100, gives 100%. I think anything but a 10 is criminal here, don't you think?
I totally agree. This is one of these players that
Yeah.
when he goes, it's going to be a Steven Gerrard type gap. Like it's going to be really difficult to replace him. The fact that and you know Timuchin and I got into it last. Well, I wouldn't say get into it, but we got into it last week about like I still think his best position is in an attacking sense, and for him to take that defensive role and spray passes around, especially because we were all griping over not getting our targets last summer and being like, oh, McAllister's going to have to play defensively again. And man, I mean, this was Batman and Robin, except there's two Batmans in the back.
Right. I would probably categorize, my comic book geek is coming up, but I would categorize Gravenberch as a Nightwing. Like he's almost as good as Batman, but he's his own man. You know what I mean? Like he's pretty solid as well. With McAllister being the undisputed I'm sorry, I just had to be a comic book nerd. Mike says, "Morning from Orlando. I hope this weather is treating you well, my friend. Good morning to you." Maka doesn't score a lot of goals, but when he does, it's always a banger. That is true. Like, what is the decibel level when he scored that screamer at Anfield to win us the league? Like that is insane. Saidu says Robo should leave. Saidu, my friend, we're trying good vibe. We're trying to keep the good vibes, my friend. This is a player rating show. Let's try and keep it positive. Salim McAllister.
10, no doubt about it. I mean, at the beginning of the season last year, I was calling him world class. Like, I really believe that. I think there's, he's not like, like a Jude Bellingham type of world class where he can kind of take over a game, but the subtlety of his techniques and the way he looks at the game, I am extremely excited of what this is going to look like with Florian and with Kirkez and Frimpong bombing down the side and McAllister just kind of mopping up and getting. I mean, it's going to be super exciting because now we have, with Wirtz, we have two game breakers from a standpoint of they can look at the pass, they can make the pass. So yeah, absolute 10. I'm a huge McAllister fan. I'm to McAllister what you are to Gravenberch, no doubt.
For sure, and I can't blame you. Listen, like this is I can't blame you. Like we have a genuine world-class signing that we recognized since we got him. He didn't even have to put on the Liverpool shirt, and we knew how good he was going to be. When he played against us against Brighton. So 10 for number 10, right? And whether he'll be number 10 next season, we'll see. But listen, it's in terms of probably some of our best players alongside Salah, Virgil, McAllister's right up there.
He got I think he got some extra bonus points for us because he joined Liverpool after winning the World Cup to a team that was not going to play in the Champions League.
Right.
An elite Premier League, experienced Premier League, proven Premier League wing or a midfielder who just comes off a World Cup win, and then he chooses a team that isn't in the Champions League. For me, that was like, man, I love this guy already.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. Like he saw the project, he saw what we were trying to do, with Klopp and everything. And listen, I know people, we don't want to look too far into the past, but thank you, Jurgen Klopp, for this midfield, right? And we'll be touching on the next member of that midfield soon. But I think the next guy here, this gentleman right here, is just a formality. If I could give him a 20.
I'd give him an 11. I honestly would give him an 11.
All right, I'd give him an 11. Right, I'd give him a 20. I'd give him a 50 if I could. Let me just say here, for the record, gentlemen, I did not expect this season at all. Like I saw, what did Salah have last year? 18 goals. I expected him to, hit lesser, right, for the Premier League. It looked like towards the end of last season he wasn't looking too good in terms of obviously there's the spat with Klopp and. He had a run where he didn't score for quite a bit, but man, oh man, Gordo, like, have we been proven wrong? Have I been proven wrong? Sorry to bring you into that. Have I been proven wrong? Right. So, like you said, 11 for Salah if possible, right?
Yeah. If you ever like as a Liverpool fan, you ever really want to get off, you watch the little clip of Harry Kane after they shared the golden boot in his first season with Liverpool, Mo Salah's first season with Liverpool,
Right.
and he said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, it's really great that he's scoring all those goals, but let's see if he can keep it up." He
Right.
basically wins the golden boot for the remainder of the time. And it's just like I love that. I love watching that video because
Yeah.
What a stupid comment too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
give me a break, dude. Like,
How about-
Jesus
how
Christ.
about you
like,
just like listen? You can feel like competitive and everything, but how about you just congratulate him and move on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Salim, 50, 100.
yeah,
50,
yeah. Top out of top, whatever number you want to put there.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times like at the beginning of the season, and now I'm gonna kind of talk a little fantasy soccer where a lot of people kind of moved off of Salah, and I kind of stuck with him
Right.
just out of blind loyalty. And he like two goals, an assist, 2 goals, like double digit
Right.
returns on fantasy for such a long time, and he's such a stud, man. You know, there's some cultural stuff that I think is to his benefit. You know, the fact that he doesn't drink. I mean, he's got that line in the middle of his like abs. Like, I've never seen that before.
Right.
It's like a half-inch line going right down the middle, and
Don't even.
you're like,
It's too early to get that turned on.
yeah.
As
But,
Ozan Kabak was saying, Salim, like thirst trapping the ladies on Instagram, right?
yeah. I mean, he scored and took off his shirt. My wife, kind of did like a double take, and I was like, all right, take it easy. No, I love him. Goals, assists, like the guy was our talisman. He was our number 9 last year, and what a joy to have him on our team, man.
Right. To add to that, Salim, he was our number 9. He was our number 10. He was our number 11. Like, all due respect to our front line, like he carried that front line. He carried that front line. Like, gentlemen, like, my God, this is like, I know it's downplayed right now because of recency bias, but 10, 15 years from now, even 5 years from now, people are gonna look at this season and go like, how the hell did Mo Salah do all that? At 32 years old. 32, 33 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I think fitting for the occasion, I think 21 is an excellent rating. Because he is.
The beginning of the year, we did a show, and I found an article, and it was like comparing. It was like after he had started, like blistering start,
Right.
and they were comparing like elite strikers, like wing strikers, that like what they were doing at 32. And you go down the list of all these guys that we say are like Premier League legends or Premier legends or whatever. 32, they're done. They're either like they've done something else, they've retired. I mean, Eden Hazard was retired at 31. Like, and the fact that he wasn't retired, but he was the best player in the Premier League, he won the Golden Boot. It speaks volumes.
For sure. So 21 for Mo Salah, who was the big reason for us winning number 21. I would say.
Yeah.
That's my logic there for the rating. Hold on. Moving on to my bad. Number 20. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, I'm already looking forward to next season. For him delivering us number 21. Right. So number 20 for Mo Salah, for his rating for delivering us number 20. Dominic Szoboszlai. This is a little tricky, I would say. And if I know there's talk about polarizing players, right? And overall last year, in my opinion, he's had a great season. But if you look through social media, Gordo, like there are some people who haven't been convinced by Szoboszlai yet. And I've been with you for the show for a while. I know, like, we know how Szoboszlai is. We know he's the real deal. But looking at his season overall last year, he started scoring more, started assisting more, but his main trait, his biggest trait, was being so integral to that system in terms of the pressing off the ball.
Yeah, so, 49 appearances. I mean, he came, tied with a number of people for fourth most appearances in the team. I think I'm going to call some people out here. It's going to make some people mad. But I think if you still don't like him or you don't think that he played an integral part this season, you either only consider goals and assists as a marker for being a good player, or you didn't like him and you're a little embarrassed and you're just sticking to your guns.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that, like, again, another player that became better this year under this system, I think his work rate is phenomenal. And I think he offers a side of like off the ball presence as well. Some of his defending was absolutely phenomenal. And it was defending from the very front, which helped us so often to turn a quick counterattack into a counterattack of our own.
Mhm.
And I think he's just going to get better because now he's got Wirtz that it's going to push him to the limits. He's definitely towards the end of the season, his on-field partnership with Mo Salah was starting to become really tantalizing to watch. And I can only imagine that whatever he gets this year, we're going to score him higher next year.
Mm. Cersei says he blames Sobo for bipolarism, and he blows hot and cold when he plays well. He's world class. He's poor. He's very poor. I think even when he's poor, he's still so good in that system. It's hard to ignore. Where he's just the start of our press there. Mr. Battle Red gives him an 8, like his jersey number. He feels like Fierce is going to unlock him. Gordo,
I agree.
yeah, an 8 for you?
I honestly, because of I'd probably give him an 8. Yeah, I was maybe going to go 8.5, but yeah, I think 8's fair.
Right, and probably more to come for Sobo next year, Salim. How do you make? What do you make of the talks regarding him? Obviously, a lot of people are clamoring for more goals and assists, but in my opinion, at least, what he gives to the system is just as important.
Yeah, I think that's a clear part of his game that he needs to improve, but he has it in him. When he plays for Hungary, I mean, he's an absolute monster,
Yeah.
So this year was definitely a step up from last year, and last year he had a good year as well. But you guys mentioned it, the engine, man, of this guy, and when he collapses on the ground after, like after 90 minutes, and like literally you just saw him 10 seconds before do a 30-yard sprint to close somebody down. I love the guy, man. I really do. I think you mentioned him being integral. He's he's kind of the reason why Salah and the forward line had such a successful season. I'm a huge fan of Szoboszlai. Interesting what's going to happen when Wirtz comes in, but I think 8 is fair. Because I know Gordo just said, people are going to say the goals and assists, but I think that's a real argument.
Yeah.
What if he were, I don't know, say 3-4 more goals, maybe a couple more assists, then you can kind of start talking up higher than that. But 8.5 is fine with me. Absolutely. Great guy. Great player.
Cersei going with half of that, giving him a 4 out of 10 for liking Trent's post. Listen, man, let's again, like I told Saidu, vibes, man. Let's try to keep it positive here. So 8 for Szoboszlai for number 8. Cody Gakpo, Gordo, excellent start to the season. Kind of fell off midway because of the injury, but then it's clear that Slot favored him in that left wing position as the season wore on over Luis Diaz. At least before the injury as well. What do you make of Gakpo's season? Because obviously I'm a bit partial to him over Diaz, right? But then at the same time, kind of like Szoboszlai, he's still yet to win a certain portion of the Liverpool fan base over.
Yeah, I think he gave us a real glimpse into his capabilities. He started off very hot, and it wasn't. You think back and then you look at you think like in your mind of what you remember about the first like half of the season with Gakpo, and then you go and look at his like goals and assists, and it wasn't a big contribution, and he was like he'd go a game and score 2 goals, and then he'd go off for 3, and then he'd score another. Provide an assist here and there. So it wasn't super consistent. However, that's kind of what when you've got somebody like Mo producing on the other side, it's kind of what you need out of somebody. I think after the injury, we saw like classic Gakpo just like waste of space. I think he found it really difficult to find his way back into the team after the injury. But I think that, with the additions that we're making, I think he was hindered a lot by Robertson because he had to do a little bit more defending. Same with Luis on the side there, because I don't think he was able or free enough to push up without exposing the team. So I think there's more to come from him. I'd probably give him a 7.
7. I think that's a fair rating. For the record, before I go to you, Salim, I give him a 7.5 for mine. What are your thoughts on Gakpo?
Yeah, I have a 7 written down for him. The thing I like about Gakpo is his size, and there's a certain presence to him. Luis Diaz is more of a kind of tricky, unpredictable player, but Gakpo cuts inside and and just lets that ball fly. Plenty of good moments this year. The injury was unfortunate, but I thought he would come back stronger, and that's why I kind of dropped him from an 8 to a 7. I just wasn't really too thrilled with the end of the season with him, especially when all the attention is going to Mo Salah. You gotta keep that defense honest and produce on that side, and would love to see a little bit more. But overall, very happy with him and glad he's on the team.
Right, and he's still of that age where he's probably going to get to another level or two. Right.
Absolutely.
So it's probably still a pretty good season for him, all things considered. So 7 for Cody here, and Luis Diaz here at the 9. And before people get on my ass, I put what I think was our strongest 11 last year. I know Luis Diaz loves the left wing, but he was pretty good at the 9 as well. Gordo last year. I think a pretty good rating, like an 8 or 8.5, would be good for Diaz in my opinion, because forced to play in a position he doesn't really play. First season with a new manager, probably our second best attacker in my opinion. What do you make of Diaz this season?
Yeah, I'd give him an 8 or a 9 for sure. I think the hat trick in the Champions League when that was his first time in that position for us. Right. Everyone's like, "What is going on here? We've got no other options." And then he scores a hat trick, and everyone's like, "All right, it worked. That's good." But his contributions in terms of goals and assists definitely went pretty stale in the middle of the season. However, at the time when the midfielders' legs were starting to go, around about February, March, the only player that you can count on to sprint every single time, chase down every single ball in the final third was Diaz. And you could not fault him for the energy level, and honestly probably saved us a lot by putting so much pressure on the back lines that he was facing, because that guy was an energizer bunny at the end of the season. And so although he didn't get the goals and assists we probably like, I know in the comments they're pointing out a couple of the perfect Mo passes that Diaz could have finished in the beginning of the year that just didn't go in for him at the end. I think that you need to have a player like this, because there was several games where I felt like he was dragging the rest of the team to come on, we have to keep playing. He was giving an energy level that was unmatched by anybody else, including Mo Salah in certain games.
For sure. Second most goals and assists after the squad after Mo Salah. Yes, no easy feat. Best forward since February. Cersei says 8.5 for him. Mike gives him an 8.5. Salim, where are you at with Diaz here?
I'm right around there. I'm an 8. I was watching all the goals of the season on a YouTube video, and I was surprised. I was like, damn, Luis Diaz scored a lot in the first 10 games. Completely forgot about that. And that's what I think, if his game can kind of, obviously, players go through purple patches unless your name is Mo Salah, he had a really nice patch of games there at the beginning of the season where he scored a bunch. I know he did flub a couple too. The consistency part for me overall is the part that kind of gets me on him. So for me, Luis Diaz, love him, love the energy, all that stuff Gordo said was 100% correct. I would give him an 8.
8 as well. I think I'd probably give him an 8.5 or 9 even. Again, like I said, I'm a bigger fan of Gakpo, but then at the same time, it's kind of hard to ignore some of the contributions that he's made this season. And I agree with Gordo. Sometimes when you need someone to give you that kick up the ass, right? It's Luis Diaz, right? He's the guy who's just going to keep going until the final whistle blows. So listen, just out of just pure just will, I think 9 might be a good rating out of this guy, especially since I didn't expect that he would have a season this good, right? Playing at an unfamiliar position at that number 9. So, gentlemen, obviously, player ratings here: Allison 8, Trent with a 7.3, Kanate with an 8, Virgil with a 10, Robertson with a 7, Gravenberg with a 9.5, McAllister with a 10. Salah with a 20, Soboslai with an 8, Gakpo with a 7, Diaz with a 9. Let's do the subs really quickly because I know we're kind of on a schedule here. Kelleher, Gordo, Salim, what do you guys give them?
8.
8 for Kelleher, Salim?
8.5. Yeah, he came in and did awesome.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Connor Bradley. Gordo.
Probably an 8 as well.
Salim.
I love him, man. Yeah. I'd say 8. Yeah, 7.5, 8.
Diogo Jota.
7.
6 for me, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a 6.5. Yeah,
I didn't want to do it less than Trent. That was
Kwanzaa. Jarrell Kwanzaa.
6.
Yeah, just a lack of involvement.
Who else am I missing? Endo. 10.
8.
10.
I love Endo for what he does. If you're looking at overall season, then I'd give him an 8. But if you're looking at like what was his rating when he was playing, probably a 10.
For sure, in terms of doing the job well. Salim, Endo for you.
Yeah, 7.5 for me. Yeah, not enough game time, but had a role though.
Right, the closer, as Ozan Kabak says.
Yeah. Yep.
And finally, I think it would be remiss for me not to mention his name, Darwizzy Nunez. Gordo.
I didn't see him play at all this year.
Okay, I think
5. I honestly 5 because I'm going to go on a rant right at 10 o'clock. So I apologize for everyone that has to jump off. But this was like the reason that we kept him was because like, oh, it's a new system. Maybe he'll flourish. And he played crappier this year than he did last year. I give him a 5. Get out of the club. I don't want to see it.
4 for me. Salim.
I think you guys are being a little harsh, but I get it.
listen, my friend. You don't know half of it.
just for the Bournemouth goals, man, I'll give him a 6.
Finally, in honor of Timuchin, who is not here, Tsimikas. How could I forget it?
I'd say 7. I don't think
I would say 7 too.
I don't think he was any worse than Robertson.
Right.
Yeah,
Salim.
yeah. I hadn't given him any thought, but yeah, 7's fine with me. He's a backup.
And how can I forget Federico Chiesa? Cersei gives him a 20.
I still think he's disappointing. I don't know. I'd say probably 6.
Salim.
To me, he's very much like Nunez. Like you want him to do well, but he just didn't. 6.
I think I pretty much covered everything, right? In terms
I
of
think
all the players.
And the song, for everyone saying the song, I think the song is ironic. I really do. I think true Scousers, I mean, like everyone who's been on a podcast with Kazi or seen a podcast with Kazi knows, they know a good joke. And I honestly think the reason that song slaps so hard is because it's ironic. He doesn't play. We never see him. Let's sing a great song about him.
And of course, Hassan, appreciate you, my friend. Joe Gomez to round things off.
N.A.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember a moment that Gomez made this. He played against City, and
he was phenomenal against City.
He was pretty solid.
Really good.
Yeah, he was pretty solid in the few games that he played. But I agree with an NA for Gomez. I don't think he's played enough to kind of justify. But yeah, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys spending the time here. We've kind of fast-tracked those subs because I know, people got to be somewhere. Obviously, we got a 1-hour time slot and everything like that. So final player ratings are here, and I will be posting it on our Discord channel so for everyone to freaking to scrutinize and everything like that. But yeah, that is the Wednesday show. It's just been a player rating show. If you guys want more coverage, which obviously will be done for the schedule release, for some transfer news, which are inevitably going to come in over the next few days, tune into the Thursday night podcast tomorrow and on Friday morning with Kazi, Anand, and I believe Gali is going to be hosting. But like I mentioned, gentlemen, appreciate you guys joining me. For everyone joining, please please subscribe. It helps a lot. And thank you for tuning into the American Scouser Wednesday show. We will see you guys soon. Take care.